奥本海默是克里斯托弗·诺兰执导的第一部具有悬疑惊悚色彩的传记电影。近日，他来到中国进行了一系列宣传。在做客蓝羽会客厅时，从原型到主演，从坚持实拍的原因到重返中国的感受，诺兰畅所欲言，和蓝羽相谈甚欢。
Hello, Mr. Nolan. It's my pleasure to have this conversation with you. Can you say hello to our audience of China Movie Channel?
Hello to China Movie. Sorry. Hello to China Movie Channel. I'm Chris Nolan, the director of Oppenheimer. I'm very happy to be joining you.
Oppenheimer is your first biopic. Why did you choose him as your subject?
I've been interested in Oppenheimer for a while. I think Oppenheimer's story is one of the most dramatic stories that I've ever heard of. The stakes are so high. This is a person who changed the world forever. Like it or not, we live in his world. And so it was a story that hadn't been told on the big screen. And as a filmmaker, that's the kind of opportunity you're looking for.
When I was watching the film, I could not only understand what Oppenheimer has been through, but more importantly, I could immerse in his inner life. How did you achieve this?
Well, I think really that was my focus on how the screenplay should work. I wrote the screenplay in the first person. You know, instead of saying Oppenheimer comes in and Oppenheimer sits at his desk, you know, I would say I come in and I sit at my desk. And in that way, I was living in his head as I was writing the script. And everyone I showed the script to understood that that's the point of view, you know, that we're taking of the character. So when I showed the script to Cillian, he immediately could tell that was how we were going to approach the storytelling. That way, every day on set, it was clear to my director of photography and everybody around that we were trying to see things from his point of view. And so over time, with all of the different decisions you make all the time when you're making a film, they add up to, you know, a point of view.
You can convince anyone of anything, even yourself.
Hitler's dead, but the Japanese fight on. Nobody knows what you believe. Do you?
This is the first time Mr. Cillian Murphy plays the starring role in your film. So is this something you have promised him for a long time?
I never actually promised him, but we've been working together, we've been friends for 20 years, and I've always tried to work with him in whatever way possible because I know him to be one of the great actors of his generation. And I've always known that he could take on a leading role. I just never had quite the right thing for him. But Oppenheimer seemed perfect for Cillian. The matchup of actor to character seemed ideal, and I got to call him up and say, this is the one where you get to lead, and that was a really fun thing.
When I saw the film, I found that Cillian Murphy didn't blink very often. Did he practice this?
I don't know if he blinks less than other people, but he certainly has a very intense stare. And that's one of the reasons why he seemed perfect, because the real Oppenheimer had a famously intense blue-eyed stare, much like Cillian. And I think that the wonderful thing with Cillian's eyes, with his demeanor, is he's very empathetic. So he can really draw us into his thoughts, his feelings. And that's what I needed to, you know, really put people into Oppenheimer's shoes and experience the story from his point of view.
You and Cillian Murphy must have talked about Oppenheimer, the person, a lot. What was the most important common ground you and Murphy had about him?
I think the most important thing was we both were in agreement that we didn't want some kind of impersonation of the real man. You know, I mean, Cillian looked at footage of Oppenheimer, he looked at photographs, listened to recordings, but ultimately we both were very much on the same page that we needed this Oppenheimer to be our interpretation of the man. We're not making a documentary, we're not trying to imitate real life, we're trying to express what we see as the truth of his story in a dramatic fashion.
After Oppenheimer, what do you think Cillian Murphy get from you?
I mean, with Cillian, I've worked with him a long time, so there's a lot of trust. We're friends, we have an ease of communication, we've been through a lot together. and that helps. And so I think he was confident to go into this process, a very difficult role, but he felt confident taking it on. He felt, I think, he trusted that I would be there for him, when he needed me, which I was. But he doesn't need a lot of directing. He doesn't need a lot of conversation about the character once he's come to set.
Build a town, build it fast. If we don't let scientists bring their families, we'll never get the best. You can't do it in your head. We can't end this war, but it might start a chain reaction.
It would ignite the atmosphere.
This time you shot the Trinity-tized scene without using CGI. How long did it take you to prepare?
Well, one of the first people that I showed my script to was my visual effects supervisor, Andrew Jackson. And I showed it to him first because I said, we're going to have to achieve the Trinity test, but I don't want to use computer graphics because I'm worried that they will feel a bit safe, not threatening enough. Even though they're very versatile, you can do anything with computer graphics, but it's animation, so it tends to feel a little unreal. We wanted real things we could photograph. And I also wanted it to relate to the images that he sees in his mind of the atomic world, the quantum world, these things that develop over time. And so Andrew went away and spent many months trying different experiments with different things, some very small, some very large, that we could photograph to represent all of these different things about fission, about the atomic state, about the bomb. And over time, we developed a library of techniques that we used. And so it was a very long process coming up with the answers to those solutions. But what it meant was that everything in the film, on some level, is something that we could actually photograph. And in that way, I think the imagery he was able to come up with is both beautiful and terrifying. And that's what we were looking for.
You are the man who gave them the power to destroy themselves. And the world is not prepared. 5, 4, 3.
Truman needs to know what's next.
2,
What's next?
1.
I heard that when you made Interstellar, you grew a field of corn. Is that field still there?
And no, it got harvested that year, and we actually made money on it. So it cost us a certain amount to rent the fields from the farmer. And we destroyed some of the corn with fire, with driving vehicles through it. But all the rest of it we sold, and we actually made money.
So this time, did you get ready for Oppenheimer in a similar way?
We didn't. We went out to the desert. We found a place to build our Los Alamos, but it had to be temporary, and it had to be taken down as soon as we finished.
This is the first time you visit China in 6 years.
It's been 6 years since we were able to be here. I'm looking forward to trying any recommendations you have.
Did you try it?
I tried the ice cream version. I don't know if that counts. They make an ice cream with that flavor, and it was interesting.
As a Chinese fan, I will give you a Chinese fan. Here it is.
Oh, thank you.
Here is your name in Chinese.
Oh, wow. So that's my name there?
Yes, 诺兰.
I like it very much. Thank you very much.